All right, cool. Hello. You feel me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Hello, I'm Kimbal. We are in my studio at Three Waters Bow Arts in East London, and welcome. Thanks for coming to visit me, Stan. And what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about my work. Just like give you a little journey into my painting. The process and maybe a bit of an evolution of how it's sort of changed and transformed. So maybe we can have a look at this one. This is work from a few years ago, and I'm really interested in layers and layering and the whole process of sort of thinking through making and thinking through layering, where each layer is a kind of response to the one before. This work is made with varnish and oil paint, and sort of mixture of mixing the oil paint together with the varnish, so it becomes kind of semi-transparent, and the layers on top kind of react with the layers underneath. So I'm really kind of building this up as an evolving composition where each layer responds to the one before, but also because it's transparent, you can kind of see through, and the colours become enhanced because of what's under there. And I'm really interested in these sort of textures that kind of emerge through the process, which are not really planned. They just kind of evolve in a sense as the composition evolves, and I really like that whole idea that the painting in a sense is a dialogue. It's a kind of trace of a dialogue that I'm having with the materials, and with myself as well, and everything that sort of happened in that conversation is kind of visible, or at least you can try to see some things. Maybe some things you also have to guess or imagine. But just to say a little bit about, so this piece before was it was part of this community arts project in Camberwell, where it used to be a gigantic chalkboard. There was like 3 panels that were huge, and I'd invited people to make drawings of the neighbourhood, like places in the neighbourhood that were important to them. This piece is part of that as well. And you can still see, so after that project, I cut the boards up and I reused them to make paintings, but I kept some of the details. So if you can see kind of here, there's like a little trace of someone's drawing, and these lines here, and also over here there are some lines that were part of this map where people were actually drawing, drawing a map of the neighbourhood. So in a sense, I see these as kind of located paintings. They're sort of based on, it's encompassing the experiences of people from that neighbourhood, but because I was also living there then in Camberwell, and that's where I made these, there is this kind of, encapsulation of place in the work, even though it's really abstract. Like for me, these are very much located in the place that I made them. So I really wanted to capture that whole idea of layers, how the place has layers, and my layers of my experiences of being there, and then also my experiences of making the painting. So in that sense, I see it as like this very, very layered, multi-layered in many different dimensions. So that's that one. And then, so that's what the kind of work I was making before. And then now we're in my studio, and since I've been here, I've been working on stuff like this, which is a painting in acrylic. And I started using acrylic because of drawing, because I started becoming more interested in the kind of immediacy of mark making. So thinking about how the mark you make with a brush or with a pencil is very very immediate. You know, it's there. It's not like with an oil painting where it sort of evolves more with the process, or the, you know, that's a much slower process, whereas this is much faster. And I was very interested in exploring that kind of immediacy with mark making, but also kind of creating really vibrant compositions which evolve very, very quickly. And so I made this piece last year, and it's called Under the Lee, and that's because right outside the window, is the River Lee, and this is also a kind of very located painting, in the sense that, you know, it's really based on my experience of being here in this studio, and you know, it's kind of capturing again my traces of my conversation making it. So yeah, again, it feels very situated for me, but also I kind of imagined it as this, like, I don't know, for me it really looks like this kind of glowing, like, detritus on the bottom of the river. I kind of imagined it as like, this is what it would look like if you dive down under the Lee, and actually, instead of seeing all the like broken bottles and like discarded shopping trolleys and, you know, whatever else is down there, there was actually this kind of magical underworld. Yeah, that's kind of how I read it, but it's also open to interpretation. But yeah, so that's been a kind of a fun thing for me being here, and then the most recent stuff that I've been doing is kind of a reworking of older paintings, which is so let's have a look at this one here. So this is an older painting which is similar to the varnish ones over there, same technique, but instead of, so it already was a painting that was finished, but I never felt that it was completely ready, and I was interested, instead of continuing to build up the layers outwards, to see what would happen if you go inwards. So like if you come close, you'll see like how I've actually gone really, like I've actually chiseled out from here, so kind of doing almost like an archaeology of the painting, and, you know, seeing what happens underneath it. You know, what are the layers underneath? You know, are there layers to discover, or maybe those layers are being created? Maybe they are maybe there's something there, and what is it? I'm trying to discover that, really, and I think that's really, I'd say that's really like the crucial thing for me with making is, you know, it has to be a process of discovery. You know, for me, like the whole process of making is about a process. It's not about, you know, I have this end vision that I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to make something that looks like this. It's more about, I'm interested in using this process to see what happens and discover where it leads. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with this piece, and it's going to be part of an exhibition in at the end of the year at One Paved Court Gallery in Richmond, called Palimpsest. That's the name of the exhibition, and it's all about this idea of layering, and thinking about how, you know, sort of mining and exploring the idea of layers in places, how places have different narratives and layers. So yeah, but also aside from that, I kind of like how it looks as well. And yes, and then last one to show you is this. I mentioned I was doing drawing, and maybe I'll take this out. Actually, you might see it better on the camera. So this is one of my drawings, and so I've always been interested in drawing in different formats. You know, drawing as a way of you know, drawing as a way of capturing an experience. You know, the idea that when you make a mark on a piece of paper, that's a trace of your action or your experience. And so what I'm doing with these drawings is I'm inspired by the space around me. So this was a drawing from my window at home, and I was taking inspiration from stuff that I could see around me, but then kind of morphing it into a different composition. So you can see sort of, you know, the balconies of buildings. This was a kind of, I don't know, there's a kind of car park thing outside, and there were some cars here which have sort of evolved into this very organic kind of figure. And then, you know, as the composition evolved, you know, other bits kind of came and disappeared. And, you know, so for me, this, like, drawing is very much about process, and it's very much about thinking through doing. You know, I think that's, yeah, that, and there's something very immediate about drawing, because you can really think with it. You know, I had no idea where this was going to go in the beginning, but it sort of evolved into this. And sometimes when I start a drawing, I don't even have like shapes. You know, sometimes it's just scribbles. Like, you know, maybe I'm listening to sound or music or whatever, you know, and like whatever kind of influence there is, it just emerges. You know, just scribble in response to sound or music. And then from that I look at it and I'll see maybe there is some sort of composition that will appear, and then it just sort of, yeah, it emerges as it goes. So this is like where that's how the thought process works.